Let's talk about a crazy mom. Or is she crazy?
We'll decide.
We'll decide. Am I the asshole for sharing my son's teacher's Instagram account with the other parents? My son is 4, and this is his first year in preschool. His teacher is called Mary, and she's roughly in her early 30s, if that matters. We first met her on Monday when dropping him off, and I didn't get the best vibes from her, so I looked her up on social media. She posts provocative photos and is very active politically, going to marches and events and stuff like that. The vibes were already far from immaculate, but what I saw made me dislike her even more. I talked it over with my wife, and we decided to ask some of the other parents what they thought of her. We reached out to them and created a WhatsApp group where we started talking, and I shared her account there. It wasn't well received from most parents either, mostly because of the provocative photos. Nothing happened for a couple of days, but a fellow parent kept tracking her account, and she saw she had uploaded a selfie with 3 of her students on Thursday. The parents were furious about that, and they went to the district supervisor first thing Friday morning. Since I was the one who started the group, he called me to confirm and hear my side of the story, and he asked me if I could come to his office in the evening. I did. She was there, along with a few other parents, and we all started talking and trying to explain the issue. Voices were raised, and at one point, she started accusing me of stalking her and then sharing her account to perv on her with the other dads. I was like, lady, I was just trying to see what kind of person is going to be teaching my son, but she wasn't having any of it and kept arguing. Things escalated even more, and the other parents demanded that she be removed from the class. I didn't outright concur or join with them, but I didn't object either. The supervisor ordered her to take down the photos, along with any she had uploaded from her previous students, but he didn't reach a conclusion. Rumor has it he's considering placing her in another school because the year just started, but we'll find out on Monday. Anyway, was I the asshole here? Should I have just kept my worries to myself?
Wow.
I have so many thoughts on like this whole idea that this like brings up.
Are you allowed to post? I would assume you're not allowed to post like children on social media if you're their teacher.
Yeah, I would think the same. Unless they're like, oh, well, these are preschoolers. But yeah, I would think almost any age until they like graduate high school.
Yeah.
And then the teacher asks for their consent, I would think. I don't know.
I feel like you have to get the parents' permission, or if they're 18, then their permission.
I would think so.
I don't know where I'm getting this, but I've always thought that there's got to be some rule, like similar to like medical care, like HIPAA, where like if I'm a nurse, I can't tell people who I'm caring for. Similarly, like teachers, I don't know, are they allowed to like share who their students are?
I would think, well,
is that like a safety risk?
Yeah, that's a good point. Because I feel like it is a safety risk.
I've seen stuff online where it's like you don't want to share your children's teachers' names because predators can use that. If they go and like try and pick up your kid from school, they know what the teacher's name is, and that, you know, gives them some like credibility that they're here for that child.
Totally.
I don't know what the rules are though.
I've never thought about it in the sense of like the HIPAA, like comparing it to that. But that is a good point, because there could be like predators who follow people on Instagram who know, or Facebook, whatever, who know that they're teachers for young children, or they don't even have to be young children. They could be any age.
Yeah.
And then they see like, oh, this girl in my grade. And like people are fucking psycho. Like they could go off and like Google these students or Google their parents. And then now they know that every day they're in that classroom.
Wait, I've never thought about predators targeting teachers.
Yeah, because they want information. Yeah. I've never thought about it either, but like that's so, that's dangerous. And I feel like if I was a parent with a student in preschool or a child in preschool, I would not want the teachers posting on their social platforms like the names of my kids or the faces. Like I don't even want to post my own kids.
Yeah.
Like their faces at least. And then now there's like someone who you don't know. Like, I mean, I feel like the root of this problem and the determination of like if she gets fired or if she gets moved, like whatever, that would have to come in the school policy, because I know I went to Catholic school. I don't know if this is the same as your school, but there was almost like this, I don't know if it was a specific form that was sent out in the beginning of the year, or if it was like in the contract, like when you sign your kids up and pay tuition, when you sign that contract, if it's in there, but there's like a photo release in schools. And I remember sometimes, it was very rare, but there would be times where people would come into our private school and they would take pictures if it's assemblies, if it's like a certain event, or if it's just like a picture of a classroom learning for the website. And
or like the local news was a thing sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like nothing creepy, but your parents definitely agree to that.
Yes.
And then I remember in public school for high school, it was like sent out. I'm pretty sure you had to sign it. I don't think this is a false memory. I almost am positive that I remember the form, and like you had to sign it too and be like, yeah, I'm fine with a photographer coming into my classroom and using my photo on the website or whatever.
I remember that too for my high school.
Okay.
That I'm pretty sure I signed something myself as well.
Okay. So then that's fine, I guess, but I still feel like you're not giving permission for teachers to be posting on their personal pages. Like you're giving the school, like the administration, the business that owns the private school, like that's who you're allowing. And I still feel like it's weird. Like I really feel like if I had kids and their teacher was posting on their personal Instagram, call me psycho, I think I would be furious.
Yeah.
I think I would have a big problem with it.
It's just dangerous because even if they have good intentions, it's their personal social media, so there's no one regulating or checking it.
Yes.
They can post whatever they want and write whatever caption they want and like just send it out there into the internet, and people can see it. Yeah. So that's...
And it can get taken and manipulated, like who knows, at least. When a school is posting photos, they are regulating, like, I mean, you would hope, I guess there's times where
like
they're
to
not.
An extent, but I guess.
Yeah, like if, I guess, I would just think that if there was a school, they would be regulating who's following their Instagram, and like, maybe they're not though. I'm like, well, I was thinking like they would regulate who follows it, maybe a little more than some random person would, but maybe they don't. I don't know.
It's tough because social media wasn't what it is now when we were in school, and we don't have kids, so I don't really know how stuff is handled nowadays for like young children online for their school's websites or whatever.
It's also, I think the weirdness comes with the age, because when you're that young, you also don't understand like the repercussions of photos and videos and where they're going to go. Like we kind of got into this a little bit in the past, but just the idea of like when a parent is like posting their kids all over the internet in videos or photos, whatever, and they're like, oh, well, I don't make her film if she doesn't want to film. I don't post pictures if she doesn't want to take pictures. And it's like, but like a 4-year-old consenting to taking a picture, taking a video, they're consenting to their mom putting a camera in their face and then them looking at it on the back of the iPhone saying, oh my God, there I am.
That's me.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's what they consent to. They don't know that it's going out for millions of people, and the long-term effects and like your privacy is like now anyone can see your face. And at least now, like we can, as adults, we get to decide what photos, for the most part, go up on Instagram and what don't. And it's like kids can't understand that. So when parents are like, oh, well, she loves filming, I'm sure she does, but she might not love the repercussions of having her 3-year-old self on camera every day of her life. Like, I don't know. So it's so deep. But I feel like in high school, if I had, obviously everyone has teachers that they're close with in high school, and I'm thinking of specific teachers where I'm sure we've taken selfies together. And my one class in high school, our art class, we were all like really close, and we would have like themed parties. And we would all dress up and like wear our costume to art class that day. And we would all take photos. And my teacher was in a lot of them. And so if it's something like that, and then if my teacher, he never did, but if he were to post that photo, nobody would think it's weird. But even looking back, I'm like, it probably would be weird though. Or would it? Like, I don't know. I guess where this thought is coming from is he's not a weird person. So if he posted it, it wouldn't be weird. But the reason that he's not a weird person is because he doesn't post photos of minors on his Instagram.
Yeah, exactly.
So like, I think that kind of makes you weird if you were to do that. I'm like really thinking this out loud right now. But yeah, like the teachers that we love and adore, it's like you love and adore them and they're your biggest supporter, and they're not weird and they're not predatory because they don't do shit like this.
Yeah.
And then if they constantly did shit like this, maybe we'd have a different interpretation of them.
I would wonder if there would be like feelings of being exploited, even if you can't put even if you wouldn't know the term at the time. But I feel like that's what it would feel like. That like they're just posting these pictures, I don't know, to show like, oh, look what a cool teacher I am.
Yeah, it's like, what's just the goal?
Right, exactly. I think I would still feel weird about it as like a high schooler, and even if I wouldn't be able to explain why, like there's something weird about that?
I'm thinking like really, like, it's funny because I feel like all these examples that I'm thinking of, I'm like, oh, this is a surface level, like, wouldn't be weird at all kind of example. But then the more I think into them, I'm like, wait, no, it becomes weird.
Yes.
Every single example of it is weird. I was thinking like 3 high school girls, and they're like, oh, this is our favorite girl teacher. And then you know how in high school, or at least this is how it was in my high school, people would like beg certain teachers to like friend me on Facebook, or like let me friend me on Instagram, let me follow you. All the teachers that I've experienced were all wonderful people, so they were all like, no, we can be friends after you graduate, maybe, but not right now. So I kind of am like, what if like 3 girls were like, oh, no, but that's the thing, it's like any example that I think of, it becomes weird.
What's the example?
I was gonna say like there were teachers, like there were teachers at my school that were not that much olher than me. It would be like our friends that graduate college and then they become a teacher in a high school. They're like, what, 7 years older maybe than the students. So I'm like, oh, 3 girls convince a girl teacher to post a selfie that they took in the classroom and be like, my favorite students, peace sign. And then I'm like, but like that's still like a little bit weird.
It is.
Like I think a teacher that has really clear boundaries would be like, I love you guys and like, you know, I'm your biggest supporter, but this is so bizarre. Like me posting your faces on my private Instagram is just not okay.
Right.
And if I was your parent, I wouldn't want that.
It would be like as if in the pre-social media world, the teacher would like frame the picture in their home.
Yeah, honestly,
of like 2 of their students, not like a class photo professionally taken.
Yes.
Like that's kind of what it feels like, because it's like your personal Instagram, it's your personal space with your personal pictures.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that's what you could almost compare it to.
Yes.
To take it out of like social media and show why it's weird.
Yeah. And I honestly feel like most teachers are down to earth enough to be like, I know, or I'm thinking high school teachers that are like, I don't want to like, is it weird to feel like they're also friends with the students? Like there are just some teachers that are so young and you form almost like a friendship with them.
Yeah, because you can kind of relate to each other.
Yeah,
in some form, I
exactly.
guess.
Like I just feel like most teachers would be aware enough, like self-aware enough to be like, I love you, but like we cannot do this. Like this is just so bizarre. Yeah. And like it will look weird if I do this.
Right.
And maybe a high schooler wouldn't think that far into it. I'm really just like thinking about that show, The Teacher, or A Teacher on Hulu. Have you heard of this?
I have. I didn't watch it though.
It is so good. I think it is so well done. It's about a predatory teacher who forms a relationship with a student.
And the teacher's female, right?
And the student's male. Yes. And it does such a good job of painting this, like, I'm using quotes if you're not watching, love story, that there are moments while you're watching it that you're like, oh yeah, they're a cute couple. And then you're like, what the hell?
You're like rooting for them.
Yeah, for like a split second. You're like, yeah. But then you're like, wait, this is horrible and disgusting. And then at the second half, or like towards the end of the series, you see like all the negatives, which there are only negatives.
Yeah.
But they all come out and they're all just demonstrated so well. And this whole conversation's reminding me of that, because that teacher that's portrayed in the show, if you just looked at her in the hallway, you'd be like, oh, that's just a normal teacher.
Yeah.
But she's not. She's a horrible, manipulative person, criminal. Yeah. And then you think about like how it started. Like it like went down this line of like, I don't know, being like friends with a guy.
Right, like a harmless relationship.
Or it seemed like it.
Yes.
I don't know.
And then it turned into something more.
And I feel like also now with like social media and everything, teachers know that you can't even like risk doing anything that even like remotely looks weird. I'm going on like a tangent right now, which is kind of irrelevant, but I just think like the more I think deeper into it, any situation where a teacher is posting their current students, I think is bizarre.
Yeah.
Unless they were maybe in college and they're all adults and the adult students are giving consent. But yeah, I think I'd be furious if my preschool age child's teacher was posting pictures of them. And even if it wasn't my kid, if it was other students, I think I'd be the crazy mom. Like I think I'd be like, no, this needs like, I never want this to happen with my kids, so this needs to be handled before it gets that far, like that there's even more kids posted on this.
I agree. I think that if it were me too, I mean, so she might lose her job. Like, do you think that is like an equal punishment to the crime here?
I think that this is where it depends on the policies that are written into the school and the contract that she has with the business that hired her.
Yeah.
Because if it was never stated, like if nowhere in the contracts, the school's policy, the school's handbook, like if nowhere mentions taking pictures with kids, then no, I do not think she should be fired. I think the parents can voice their concerns and she can say, oh, I see where you're coming from. I'll delete that and I will never post children on my Instagram again.
Yeah.
And then that would be the end of it. And then maybe then the school learns from this and creates a policy. But if there is a policy already in place, I think the answer would come from that.
Yeah.
And if the policy said
That's
no
true.
photos, then yeah, she agreed to no photos. So she should lose that job. But I do wonder if schools have policies like that, though.
I know. I imagine they have to at this point.
Yeah. Now that it's become so prevalent in society.
Yeah.
So the other... This whole story is so deep.
It is. I was going to say there's more to it, too. Yeah.
The other side of it is, let's pretend the posting of the students never happened, and it's just an adult woman posting on a private Instagram, and she happens to also be a teacher from 9 to 5. Now what?
Well, I just think she has the right to post whatever she wants because it's her own personal account.
I agree.
I think that the parents don't really have a right to get mad at her for posting things that are provocative or political, but I can see where they're coming from because, like, whatever comes out of her mouth goes right into their children's very premature brains. What's the word I want to say? Fluid? No.
What is that word?
Do you know what I'm trying to say?
It means like easily like
they absorb everything.
Yes. What is the word for that? It's somethingable. It's like
yes, malleable.
Yeah, you're getting closer. Impressionable.
Yes.
Yes.
It is like nerve-wracking. I've never thought about it, but like, because I've always had very good teachers, so I've never thought that like there could be a bad teacher. But now as an adult, knowing like people my age who are teachers and also kind of being like, wow, they're a teacher, they teach children.
I know.
You don't realize it as a kid, but like it's hard to choose like a good place for your children to go to school where you trust they'll be taken care of and they'll be educated well and turned into like well-rounded people. So I could see the concern that the parents, like the conclusion they came to like from her Instagram, that they're now concerned for their little like 4-year-olds and like what they're going to be hearing every day from the person they spend probably the most waking hours with for that year. But I also think that the parents also don't really have a right to like meddle with her personal Instagram and bring it into her like professional life. I don't know if that makes sense, like what I'm saying.
I agree. And I feel like, no, it does make sense. I can see where they're coming from if people are like, oh my God, she posts all this crazy stuff.
Right.
But I feel like you can't look at that. You need to look at her track record and her reviews and testimonials and whatever in the classroom, because you can do whatever you want outside of the workplace, and that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to affect your work.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, she goes to marches and she's into politics. Like, okay, yeah, that's possible. But that doesn't mean that she's a bad person, and it doesn't mean that she's doing anything wrong. Everyone has bias that we don't even recognize in our daily conversations. Like, and every teacher is a human. Like, they're going to have those little biases when they're talking. Let's say the teacher has like different political views than the parents or different religious views than the parents. I feel like the real solution is making sure that the preschool isn't based around politics. Like the things that they're learning isn't based around politics.
Yeah.
And if you really feel that differently than her, maybe that's a place where you move your kid. But if she's doing everything right within her contract and her teaching agreement, and she's teaching your kids all the things that the school that you signed them up for has presented to you, then she's doing her job, and who the fuck cares what she posts on social media?
Yeah. Like, I remember I had a teacher when I was in grade school, and she had strong feelings about certain things, but she also was a science teacher, so it wasn't relevant to talk about these things.
Right.
And she was professional about it, and she stuck to her subject that she was supposed to teach, and she wasn't, you know, like, relaying any, like, big ideas or, you know, like, her own biases to us. Which I think is good, and that kind of gives kids a chance to come to their own like opinions and conclusions about things.
Yeah, that's so true. It's like if someone who was very religious in like Christianity, who believed in like the Adam and Eve story if they were a science teacher and the curriculum at this school is teaching evolution. It's like, just because they might not believe in it doesn't mean that they're going to try to convince your kids that things are fact when they're outside of the curriculum. Like, you can also put a little bit of trust in teachers that have a good track record. And then also when it just comes to like posting provocative things, like that's honestly like the perfect place to do it.
Yeah.
It's out of a classroom. It's on a social media account. Most preschoolers don't have social media. If anything, this is a lesson for the parents to be like, okay, Instagram has this on it. Preschools have this in it. Let's keep our kids off Instagram and in preschools. Like, what? Who cares what you're doing outside of it's also, I feel like it would be the same vibe as like, oh, that teacher drinks on Saturday nights.
Yeah.
Okay, they're an adult and that's like the time and place to drink.
Yeah.
And then the school is not. So like, what do you want? Do you want someone that acts like they're at work 24/7? And if you do, like, that's fine. It's going to be way harder to find.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You want someone with a good work-life balance.
Yes. And just like be for real. Like,
exactly.
The teacher is a person too.
Yes.
Like, do you go home from work and just always act like I'm a photographer? Do I never stop taking photos?
Right.
I don't drink while I work. Do I never drink ever? No, I will be 100% at my job when I'm at my job, and that's what matters. And then outside of my job, I do whatever else.
Yeah.
What do you expect? Like, so do I think the family who started this and all the other parents, do I think they're assholes for the provocative side of things? Yes. I think if that was the only issue, yeah, you're an asshole. We don't need to talk about someone's social media. We don't need to judge the teacher based off their social media. Judge them based off of how they treat your kids.
Yeah.
Judge them based off of what other parents whose kids were in her class last year have said.
Right.
And then the person who hired them at the school, what do they think about this teacher? You are trusting your kids to go to this school, so you must trust the administration is making good decisions and hiring teachers. So go based off of that.
Exactly.
Don't go based off of what she does in her personal life when your kids are not in her presence.
And maybe what you're seeing on her Instagram is the result of a lot of like good life experience. Like, maybe she has come to this point in her life where she feels she needs to post these things because she has a lot of experience behind her. Yeah. Just in one way or another. Like, I feel like if you have strong political beliefs, you probably know a lot about politics in general. So, you know what I mean? Like, maybe you don't have to share your biases with kids, but you can share an in-depth description of both sides of the spectrum here.
Yeah, you'd hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it could be a blessing in disguise.
I think so too. I think don't judge her.
Yeah.